What up, YouTube? Look at what I'm riding this morning. 1988 FZR1000. Pure sports. Oh, am I excited to ride this thing. This thing has been parked in my garage for a few days. It's needed a little tweaking here and there to get it to run. Let's hope it's reliable enough to get a full video out of it. And this is my first impression of this bike. I really have only ridden it around the block to make sure that the thing runs. You just look at some of the aesthetics and sort of what it is, and I'm not going to get into too many technical bits because that'll be a second video. This is the first impressions, just my emotional take of riding this time capsule of, I was a teen when this bike came out. These bikes were unobtainable when I was a kid. Like, there was just so many cool super bikes in the 80s. There was such a technical progression from the early 80s into the mid 90s of just amazing bikes every year from all the manufacturers coming out. Just boom, GSX, CBRs, FZRs, Interceptors, Ninjas. There was Top Gun in 1986 where the GPZ was launched with the Ninja moniker. And I'm convinced that this bike didn't make as much impression on us teens back in the day, being a Yamaha and the word Genesis, and it just didn't stick compared to the Ninja or the Fireblade or some of the other names, and the GSX was out at the same time. But doing a little research on this thing, looking back at what the journalist had to say about it, this was top dog as far as technology goes. The Genesis is for the 5-valve cylinder that was launched, I think, in 85-ish on a smaller cc bike, but it eventually made it to the 1000 cc in 1988. So the Delta box is the frame style, which has these air tubes that go into here, and pretty cool and super stiff, very beefy. I don't know what the pure sports means. It's fucking hilarious. There's a piece missing right here that I purposely left off because it's kind of wonky and the grommets are all effed up. We did put new tires on it, and when I say we, I don't own this. Gentleman bought this thing, and I'm helping him sort of breathe life back into it. Riding it and tweaking it and getting some, grommets and some of the pieces that it's missing. The whole airbox is a mess. The fueling has been a bit of an issue. But yeah, we're gonna fix this all up. It's got an aftermarket fork brace. Man, is this a nice specimen. It's got a few, body issues here. It's had a fuel leak for quite a few years, which messed up some of the body down here. It's funny about these 80s bikes is for how race inspired they are, they have such chunky seats. Look at that. Such a chunky seat. Let's walk around back to the front and do the dual headlight is absolutely iconic 80s sport bike. There were some Hondas that were just as cool, like the Interceptor that had the square, but these dual round, just awesome. Awesome bike. Yeah, so let's do a first impression ride. Let's start it up. It is warm, so I'm not going to pull the choke. Fairly simple startup. Going to make sure it's in neutral, right? That's about the only thing you get is a neutral light. Yeah, okay, starts right up. It hasn't always started right up. Sometimes it needs a little TLC to get this thing going. Little sound check. Oh, does that sound good? Good morning. Yeah, nobody lives here. Kind of a perfect 80s vibe for the 80s sport bike, right? All this crappy, boring architecture that could have been built in the 60s, the 80s, maybe the 90s, and then again here in the 2000s. It's just cheap ass shit. Whatever. Sport bike. Focus. Let's go for a ride. We'll do my typical run, which is a bunch of stop signs to sort of get a feel for the throttle. It is a hydraulic clutch. It is very responsive. The throttle. So I'll tell you what, right away, the brakes are bad. They need to be redone. That's probably the next thing. So I'll probably be taking it easy because of the brakes. The fueling is acting very nice this morning. It really likes the 75-degree temp. This bike does have a tendency to... Woo, it's so easy to over-rev this thing. Brakes are soft, clutch is hard. This is... It is not the RS660, that's for sure. So you got a really late bite point. You got a really sensitive throttle. You got a soft brake. Yeah, there we go, okay. I'm fighting the bite point. You guys are all learning with me. Like I said, I've only really taken this around the block a couple times just to make sure it runs. One time it definitely overheated. Second time, could barely get the fueling to work. Oh, is this nice? It just sounds so good. I really wish the brakes were better. Like a game of cricket. All right, small change of plans. Loving this thing. I just took it down some sweepers and it was a blast. But when it gets heat soaked, I don't think the radiator fan is working because it fluctuates in temperature a lot, too much. And then when it fluctuates and gets overheated, you can smell the oil and the gas because the pressure lines, I imagine, bulge a little bit and then something leaks out a little bit. And I thought I had already fixed that up. But now I'm thinking the radiator fan. So letting it cool down a little bit. But let's talk about the bike a little bit more because that's what I was going to do while I was riding it. This was unobtainium when I was a teen. Even the GPZ 250 Ninja, that was about the only bike any kid had. There was a GSX 250. I don't think it was like an R model or anything like that. And these 250s back in the day were just total weak sauce. I mean, they were like just a few more horsepower than a regular old dirt bike. And so when these big CC bikes came out, when I mean CCs, 750 was the pinnacle in the 80s for a race. That's where all of the development happened. The Delta Box, I think, was actually launched on a 750. The Genesis motor, though, was originally done in a 500, I believe. You know, I'll do more research to make sure that I get all of that stuff correct on the second video that I do. But what my point being is that these were the race bikes, right? These were the bikes we couldn't ride. These are the bikes we couldn't afford. And they were amazing. And we were just on these little 250s just putzing around. And this is what we wanted. And now that we're older and these have gotten actually really affordable for what you get out of them. Of course, you're going to have to tinker a lot, which is what we're having to do with this bike, is tinker a lot to make sure that it runs. You know, there's quite a few things missing. A lot of bolts, a lot of grommets are rotted out. It's been, the original petcock has been bypassed. Cool. So the other thing that was really innovative by Yamaha was this 45-degree angle engine, so that it laid lower center of gravity, and then had top down drafts for the carburetors. And then you had the 5 valves per cylinder, 3 intake, 2 exhaust. So this thing breathes a lot, right? And which is what we're having an issue with right now. Yeah, it does not like to sit at stoplights. This is not a city bike. All right. Let's see if it's cooled down a little bit.